Imagine you and your friends open a lemonade stand. But not just one. There are 500 lemonade stands. Some are big, some are small, some are always busy, some barely get customers. Now imagine you have a little bit of money and you want to invest it. You could pick just one lemonade stand, but there's a problem. What if you pick the wrong one? What if that stand doesn't sell anything? What if it shuts down? You lose your money. So instead, you come up with a smarter idea. You decide to own a tiny piece of all 500 lemonade stands. That way, even if one fails, you still own the others. Some will lose money, but others will grow. And overall, you're probably going to be okay. That idea is basically what the S&P 500 is. The S&P 500 is a list of 500 of the biggest companies in the United States. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. These are giant businesses that make billions of dollars. Instead of choosing just one company, the S&P 500 groups them together. So when you invest in it, you're buying a tiny piece of all of them at once. Now think of it like this. Imagine a big basket. Inside that basket are 500 companies. Each one is doing its own thing. Some are building phones. Some are selling food. Some are creating software. When most of those companies do well, the basket goes up. When most of them struggle, the basket goes down. But here's something really important. Not every company in the basket is equal. Some companies are huge. Some are smaller. That means bigger companies have more influence. If a giant company goes up, it can move the whole basket. But if a small company goes up, it barely changes anything. So the S&P 500 is not just about 500 companies. It's about how big those companies are. Now, let's talk about why people invest in this. Because most people try to do something very difficult. They try to guess the winner. They think, which company will grow the most? But that's hard. Even professionals get it wrong. So instead of trying to be right, the S&P 500 lets you be average. And that sounds boring, but it's actually powerful. Because average means owning the biggest companies in the world. Now imagine time, years. Over time, companies try to grow. They create new products, they expand into new markets, they make more money. And as they grow, the basket increases. But the S&P 500 does not go up every day. Sometimes it goes down. There are bad years. And this is where most people panic. They sell. They leave. But over long periods of time, the S&P 500 has always recovered and then continued growing. So the real strategy isn't buy at the perfect time. It's stay long enough, because time smooths out the ups and downs. Let's go back to the lemonade stands. Some years it rains. Fewer people buy lemonade. Sales go down. But the next year, it's sunny again. More people buy. The stands grow. If you panic and sell when it rains, you miss the growth. That's exactly what happens in investing. Now here's the most important idea. You don't need to be smarter than everyone. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to find the next big thing. You just need to participate. Because when you invest in the S&P 500, you're betting that over time, businesses grow. And if that continues, your investment grows with it. That's why people like it. It's simple, it's diversified, and it works over time. So instead of trying to pick one winner, you own a piece of all of them. You let them compete, you let them grow, and you let time do the work. That's the S&P 500. Simple. If you finally understand it, subscribe, because most people think investing is complicated, when the best strategies are usually the simplest.